Adivasi Demands and 1989 Act. The 1989 Act is important for another reason. Adivasi activists refers to it to defend the rights to occupy land that was traditionally theirs, because the traditional what was kept for or used by the Adivasi people, that was taken by government or private parties, so they are asking for that. As you read the previous chapter, Adivasi are often unwilling to move from their land, and are forcibly displaced in the name of dam or mining, or in the name of company, like that we force them to displace from their own place. And activists are asked that those who have forcibly encroached upon tribal land should be punished under this law. They may taken before 50 years or 60 years or 20 years, they want to get the punishment, like that they said. They have also pointed that the fact that this act merely confirm what has already been promised to tribal people in the constitution. Then the Adivasi people, they are saying what is there in the constitution, that only they are explaining with the help of this act. Nothing new, even single thing it is not there as a new one. That land belonging to tribal people cannot be sold to or brought by non-tribal people. What was the law in the constitution? The land kept for the tribal people, they can't sell, or nobody can't buy it. Non-tribal people can't buy it. In case where this had happened, the constitution guarantees the right of the tribal people to repossess their land, because what was there in the constitution not happened in the society. So when this act came, that time they said like that we want to get it our land back, and it was a repossess of their land. C.K. Janu and Adivasi activists who also pointed out that one of the violator of constitutional rights guaranteed to tribal people are governments in the various states of India. For it is they who allow non-tribal encroachers in the form of timber merchants, paper mills, etc. to exploit tribal land and to forcibly evict tribal people from their traditional forests in the process of declaring forest as reserved or as a sanctuaries. Then C.K. Janu, one of the Adivasi activists, she is criticizing the government itself and saying like that government only taken many land of the tribal people for in the name of different purpose. One is the to give the contract to the timber merchants or the paper mill for paper mill purpose, or displace the tribal people in the name of reserved forest or sanctuaries, like that. She has also noted that in cases where tribals have already been evicted and cannot go back to their land, they must be compensated. If they can't go back, if it is mining started or company started like that, they can't go back to their own land, then they want to get the compensation. That is the government must draw up plans and policies for them to live and work elsewhere. So that compensation, by that what she is meaning, the government should make the policies for to give a good life to them as well as to give some work to them. After all, government spent large sum of money on building industrial or other projects on land taken from tribal, so they should why should they be reluctant to spend even very modest amount on rehabilitating the displaced? Then in the name of different project, bird sanctuary or animal sanctuary, like that, different in the name of that project, already government spent much of money. Then why government can't spend some amount for the displacements or the rehabilitation of this Adivasi people, like that? Who is asking? C.K. Janu is asking. Then conclusion: as we the existence of a right or a law or even a policy on paper does not mean that it exists in reality. In paper we are having many rules and regulations, but we can't say that really it is existing. People had to constantly work on or make effort to translate these into principle that guide the actions of their fellow citizen or even the leaders. So the we want to what all things the government is writing and giving in the paper in the form of new policy or program, that we want to make into action or practice in our life. The desire for equality, dignity and respect is not new. It had existed in different forms throughout our history, as you have seen in this chapter. Similarly, even in the democratic society, similar process of struggle, writing, negotiations and organizing need to be continued. Very few things we discuss here, like that many things we want to do as a educated person, as a citizen of India. We are having the duty to give maximum facilities or the to overcome the disadvantages what they are facing, and we want to help the people, those who are not aware about their rights, those who are not getting the chance to be educated like us or health facilities like that. So we want to make the awareness program among the tribal people or the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe people, or SC and SC caste, or untouchables and the tribal Adivasi people. So what is a life skill we want to learn from this lesson? To understand the pain of the people. We should able to understand the pain of the people, how they are getting the humiliation in the society, in the name of food or in the name of dressing or like that in many way. And here in Tamil Nadu we know many situations the people we are discriminating them in the name of rituals or in the name of some special occasions. We are discriminating them, and we are not only in Tamil Nadu, everywhere we can see that one. And what is your personal experience? If you are looking back to your own family or neighbors, then you can see how we are making them to be humiliated in the society in day-to-day life. Then Pandit, look in your heart of knowledge. Tell me where untouchability, in the heart of knowledge, in that where is untouchability come from, since you believe in it. Sorry, came from, since you believe in it. Mix red juice, white juice and air. A body bakes in a body. We eat by touching, we wash by touching. From a touch the world was born. So who untouched? Asked Kabir. Only she who is free from delusion. And Kabir asking question like that. Pandit means what we can say, educated person, educated person, look to your heart of knowledge and show me where is that untouchability. And we can mix with the red juice and white juice or air, and our body is baking us. And we can eat by touching, we are having food by our touching, or drinking that also by touching, washing also by touching. And show me where is the who is untouched. And everyone, only one person who is free from the delusion, he is away from the society, means the power who made this world, that person may be, or that power may be free from this thing without touched. In this poem, Kabir is challenging a priest by directly questioning at him about where untouchability came from. He asks the priest to look for knowledge in his heart and not in the scriptures. Kabir goes on to describe how every human body is made up of blood and air, has spent 9 months in mother's womb, and that everything in the world is created by touching something, whether it be a pot or a human being or a painting. He takes the word untouchable and give it a very very different meaning. He claims that untouchability in the highest state of knowledge and it means not be touched by narrow limiting ideas. Therefore Kabir finally turned the idea of untouchability on its head from the lowest to the highest state that human being can achieve. So in the poem the Kabir is explaining about untouchability in a different manner of how we can't live without any touching, like that Kabir is saying. Then again we can see the work was doing by the some of the scheduled caste people, that is the scourge of manual scavenging, means the waste of the human being want to remove. That is one of the manual scavenger at work, the lady who is collecting the human waste. And then afterwards we are made like different and what it is that we are going to see. Manual scavenging refers to the practice of removing human and animal waste, extract or using brooms or tin plates and baskets from dry latrines and carry it on the head to disposal ground some distance away. A manual scavenger is a person who does the job of carrying this filth. This job is mainly done by Dalit women and young girls. According to the Andhra Pradesh based Safai Karmachari Andolan, an organization working with manual scavengers, there are 1 lakh person from Dalit communities who continue to employ in this job in this country, and who work in 20 lakh private and community dry latrine managed by the municipalities. The Andhra still they are working like that, or they was working the as a Safai Karmachari, and that one moment they started, and who is cleaning the human waste and animal waste. Then manual scavengers are exposed to subhuman conditions of work and face serious health hazards. First of all, they are getting humiliation in the society because they are cleaning the scavengers, our humans waste, and they are want to take it on their head to the place where they are disposing, and that is the one condition, humiliation. Second one, they are facing many health hazards. The person may be having cholera or many different diseases. These ladies who is working as a scavengers, they are also having the risk to get many health illness. They are constantly exposed to infectious that affects their eyes, skin, respiratory and gastrointestinal system. They get very low wage for their work they perform. Those who are working in the urban municipalities earn 200 rupees per day, and those who working privately they paid much less. And the government job, now we know the scavengers, the cleaning works doing by the ladies and gents. Early morning they will come and clean the street. They are getting 200 rupees per day. And the people those who are working under the private companies, they are getting very less. It may be 50 rupees, like that. That is not enough for their health, to solve their health issues. As you have read earlier in this book, the practice of untouchability has been abolished by Indian Constitution. However, manual scavengers in different parts of the country, the Bangis in Gujarat, Pakis in Andhra Pradesh, and the Sikarians in Tamil Nadu continue to be considered untouchable, even though it is written 70 years before in our constitution. Still we are having like this untouchability or practice of untouchability in the society. They often live in a separate settlement on the outskirts of the village and are denied access to the to temple, public water facility, etc. 1993, the government passed the Employment of Manual Scavengers and Construction of Dry Latrine Prohibition Act. In which year? 1993. This law prohibits the employment of the manual scavenger as well as the construction of dry latrines. And in 2003, the Safai Karmachari Andolan and 13 other organizations and individuals, including 7 scavengers filed a PIL, public interest litigation, in the Supreme Court. The petitioners complained that manual scavenging still existed and it continued in government undertaking like railways. The petitioners sought enforcement to their fundamental rights. The court observed that the number of manual scavengers in India had increased since 1993 low. It directs every department of or ministry of the union government and state government to verify the facts within 6 months. If the manual scavenging was found to exist, that the government department has to actively take up time-bound program for their liberation and rehabilitation. The prohibition of employment of manual scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act came into force in 6th December 1913. So in this one paragraph we are discussing about three laws. One is 1993. One law came, then 2003 again the Andolan people, they are filing a case against the activity of the people. Then next new law it is coming, the prohibition of employment of the manual scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act that came in 2013. By this we are completing the lesson. Thank you. Have a nice day.